Hello World Wide Web, I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair, and it is more than time to tackle Halloween Ends. The latest and, so far, last movie in the long-running Halloween franchise that began way back in 1978. 2018 marked its 40-year anniversary, and as such, another partial reboot was made. Because I gotta figure out a way to bring Jamie Lee Curtis back, and let's face it, the Halloween series got weird. Incredibly weird, and was rebooted several times as a result. But we also got 3 movies out of this new deal, culminating in this one, Halloween Ends. And you'd think that would mean they'd pull out all the stops to give us a deep dive into Michael Meyers, or at the very least cut him loose on Haddonfield in such a way to put Halloween Kills to shame. But, let's ignore that for now and focus on the real story. This troubled kid named Corey. The terrors of Haddonfield have come back to haunt him, and before you know it, we're not even sure if we're watching the latest Halloween movie or a remake of Friday the 13th Part 5. And with the movie rights getting shuffled around once more, this may be the last Halloween movie we get for a while. So, let's take a look at Halloween Ends and see just how Halloween ends. Our story opens on Halloween! In 2019, the sun is setting and the trick-or-treaters are winding down, but the night is still young for our happy family, where we see Mrs. Allen, played by Candice Rose, greet their babysitter for the night, Corey, played by Rohan Campbell. She and her husband, played by Jack William Marshall, are to go off to his company Halloween party last minute and need someone to watch over little Jeremy, played by Jackson Goldenberg. Real quick, Corey here is a wonderful guy with a bright future, wondering what college he's going to get into, and this job is simple. Jeremy's a great kid, and absolutely nothing could possibly go wrong.
It's Halloween. We're gonna have a good time tonight.
Oh, come on, even if this wasn't a horror movie, with that kind of opening, we know at least one of them's gonna be dead before the title. As the rule is, no horror movies. Of course, they spend the evening watching John Carpenter's The Thing, a double homage to how John Carpenter did the original Halloween, and in the original Halloween, they watched the original The Thing from Another World. But it turns out that Jeremy is not a sweet young boy, but an absolute jerk who taunts Corey about how Michael Meyers has returned, and he just might come that night to kill him.
Okay, man, it's gonna get you.
He's not gonna get me. Michael Meyers kills babysitters, not kids.
Yeah, weirdly enough, despite the fact that Michael Meyers has crossed the lines even Jason Voorhees won't cross and has killed animals like dogs and such, he's never actually killed any kids. Even when he himself was 6 years old and starting his slasher killer spree, his victim was his 17-year-old sister. Corey decides to take care of this little problem by calming down with a nice tall glass of chocolate milk. However, weird noises abound, and before long he realizes the little brat has disappeared. Where could he have gone? Even worse, the knife is missing. And as Corey sneaks around, wondering who could be in the house, he heads up the stairs and finds the knife. So, arming himself against the unknown, he continues to push forward, calling out for Jeremy, wondering if the boy is all right. Eventually, he reaches the top of the ridiculously tall staircase and enters the dark room alone.
Jeremy.
Oh, darn it. It turns out Michael Meyers was never there at all. The kid's just a jerk. And now Corey is terrified because his parents could be home at any minute, and somehow Corey would be in trouble in this situation. Not sure if he's got claustrophobia or not because he gets really, really agitated here, but he's in plenty of enclosed spaces later, and this behavior never comes up again. But the thing that does matter as we go forward...
I'm gonna kill you, Jeremy!
What was that?
is the part where he straight up kills the kid. Accidentally, just like how he accidentally blurted out how he was going to kill the little guy. But, you know, he wasn't trying to push him down the stairs. He wanted to stab him. So that's our opening. 10 minutes of babysitting with Corey and no Michael Meyers. Which I remember the first time watching this didn't exactly fill me with confidence, but by the end I figured, You know, for this movie, it's a very fitting opening. But how did we get here? Well, let's leave that up to a little narration from Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. She gives the audience the rundown of the Halloween series so far. Or, specifically, the movies within the canon of this one. Michael Meyers killed a bunch of babysitters in 1978, then for the 40-year anniversary of the movies, bam! Halloween 2018 was released as a direct sequel to the original, ignoring all the weird stuff in between like the cult parts, the 20-year anniversary timeline, and of course the Rob Zombie movies. Myers returned, but Laurie was a prepper and took him down. But they needed a sequel, so she failed and he killed a bunch of people in the last movie, including Laurie's daughter. But hey, that was then and this is now.
I bought a home, a place to live with love and trust. Not a trap, not a place to hide.
Yeah, it turns out that incredibly traumatic event that caused you to tap into your inner Sarah Connor for the last 40 years is just water under the bridge now, and we can forget all about it because after all, you were vindicated and... What? Yeah, this movie does what a lot of sequels do and seemingly doesn't care at all about what we've established with these characters. We've got our own story to tell here, and by golly, they are gonna fill in the roles we made for them this go-around. Thus, Laurie is a happy, friendly grandmother to Allison, played by Andy Matichak, and there's nothing to worry about at all after all. It's been 4 years since Halloween Kills. That's much shorter than 40. And they have more important things than the personification of evil with the devil's eyes stalking around their small town. It's almost Halloween.
I gotta go. I'm late for work.
Do you have your costume for the party?
I told you, I don't want to go alone. So I'm not going.
Candy in costumes, yay! I'd feel more comfortable about this if it was something like 10 years later and they established it was after a long time spent in therapy dealing with the trauma. But I guess the writers are just the kind of people that think that you could just wake up one day and say, no, I am not going to let my trauma rule my life. And that actually works. But how is Corey doing? Badly. Seems the bright lad with the wonderful future really had his life turned for the worse after he accidentally killed that kid. He's got a job down at the dump under Ronald, played by Rick Moose. He's not all bad though. Look! Ronald gifted him a motorcycle. Slightly used.
With a good engine pushing you, finally make it to work on time, you know what I mean?
Does it work?
Yeah, the wheels spin and the gears shift, and sometimes the brakes even kick in. So he's actually having a better morning than Allison over here, who has been stopped by the police.
You're under arrest for being the prettiest girl I know.
That's nice, Doug.
Even worse, it's her boyfriend. Officer Mulaney, played by Jesse C. Boyd. He tells her that her muffler's loose, and she's extra cute today. And we move on back to Corey, just minding his own business, when a group of juvenile ne'er-do-wells, led by evil Ludwig, played by Michael Meyers, approach him, wanting him to help them illegally acquire alcoholic beverages. Upon Corey's refusal, though, they realize that he is actually the world-famous child murderer and begin to accost him until his rage smashes his bottle in his hand. But what's this? Laurie Strode swoops in to save the day.
Would you look at this? I mean, a psycho meets a freak show. Wow. This is a match made in heaven.
Man, I could really go for Michael Meyers about now. Best we can do is Laurie scaring the kids off with a threat of responsibility before she gets Corey to slash their tires and run away. To the hospital where Allison works so she can help patch Corey up. You know what that means. Small talk.
So my car's been rattling.
Rattling?
Yeah.
It's just your exhaust system clamps come loose. It's an easy fix. It takes like 5 minutes. Super Senji.
There are a lot of different causes for rattling in an automobile that it could be. I mean, he's right, but off of that vague clue, that is incredibly good luck. At the very least, after she's done patching him up, he does go out there anyway and confirm his suspicions, telling her to bring it down to his workplace and they can fix it up.
We should go out sometime and do something.
With me?
With both of us. I mean, we both have to be there, otherwise it wouldn't be a very good time.
While she's schmoozing up to him and having a great time. And could we have a single Halloween movie where Allison's contributions are something other than who she happens to be in a relationship with at the time? And they hit it off so well because, no surprise, Laurie intentionally hooked them up as the family laughs about old Granny trying to get her granddaughter hitched, along with the family friend Lindsay, once again played by Kylie Richards. But Corey's home life is not so pleasant as his mother, Joan, played by Joanne Barron, is overbearing and controlling.
Who's that calling you under the dinner table?
No.
Who's that person you're texting?
For you see, one of the main reasons Corey is such a screw-up and so socially awkward is his terrible family life, dysfunctional, always holding him down and preventing him from being able to truly shine as he should. Which really makes me wonder how he was doing so well before with all those college opportunities lined up if it was already like this. But she can't control what he does all the time, and while he's at work the next day, Allison shows up with her bad muffler.
I'm gonna go help Ronald fix the rattle. Your car's.
I don't care about the rattle. I came to see you.
And despite it being a 2-second job for next to no cost, she's like, nah, let's leave it. It'll make it much easier to tell later in the movie when I've entered a scene when you can hear my incomprehensible neglect. Also, in this episode of As the Haddonfield Turns, who should Laurie happen to encounter at the supermarket but Frank, played by Will Patton. Just a friendly little chat, catching up on things with each other.
My niece gave me a Rosetta Stone, and now I'm learning Japanese. Shatsu o Nakoshita.
What does that mean?
Means I lost my shirt.
Well, not by itself it doesn't. That just means you put your shirt inside.
I think. Oh, I lost my hat. I don't know.
Oh, the joke is that he isn't that good and doesn't really know yet. Somehow it's the shatsu part that he doesn't get. I'd understand not being able to pick up that boshi is hat, but shatsu to shirt is it's a pretty clear translation. But the point is, they're happy, and it's good to know that good things still happen for good people in this world. Or is it? For you see, a random, unimportant character was mutilated in the previous movie, and thus, this is all Laurie Strode's fault. Somehow.
You tempted and you provoked that man when you should have left him alone.
How dare she defend herself from a psycho killer who was coming for her anyway. Man, talk about victim blaming. But now she's sad. How can Laurie Strode find joy in life when her existence does the... Oh, well, she sucks. But forget it, it's time to take the Rattlemobile down to the Halloween party. Allison is a black cat, and Corey as a scarecrow. Anyway, you know how parties work. They get drunk, dance embarrassingly, and Corey hobbles back over to the bar where he can run into people he'd rather not, such as Mrs. Allen.
Sorry.
Sorry for killing my son.
No, I'm sorry for breaking the rules and showing him that scary movie. But the Fall Man, come on, that snot-nosed crotch goblin had it coming. She tells him how the pain is too much for her to bear to even live her life anymore, as she's drinking at a party. Either way, she manages to chase him out of there before Allison even has any idea of what's going on and rushes out to catch him. That means it's time for our lovers' spat. Corey says, "I'm not your project," to which Allison says, "I don't see you as that. I see you as a lost soul in search of love, like me. For you see, no one sees me for me. They only see what they think of me from the news." To which Corey retorts, "Oh yeah, woe is me. Everyone is so sorry that Michael Meyers killed my boyfriend turned ex-boyfriend turned boyfriend. That's totally the same as everyone thinking you're a psycho kid killer."
I'll spare you the heartache.
Corey, how I wish to show you just how much I love. If Michael Myers would ever show up. Anyway, Corey's gotta walk back home, but oh, would you look at that? Evil Ludwig has arrived, and he and his cohorts corner Corey and bully him some more.
Dollar store designer friend?
Oops.
Destroying his glasses. Which should mean that he either gets new ones or can't see very well for the rest of the movie, but this is a movie, you know how that works. It just means he doesn't wear them anymore for the rest of it. Because you never needed them in the first place, I guess. But Corey isn't giving up that easily, telling evil Ludwig, "Hey, you only bully people because of daddy issues, as your father finds his evil Ludwig incredibly disappointing compared to the good counterpart." And evil Ludwig throws him from the bridge, telling his goons it's not his fault, the guy just fell. Ha! There's some poetry in there somewhere. But while Corey is out cold, he is dragged into the sewers. Inside, he comes to. And it's like, well, that was a heck of a party. No idea how I got here. Better head out. But then he is grabbed! by Michael Meyers. Finally shows up in the movie, 40 minutes in. But I don't know, Corey here, something about him, something in his eyes. Just let him go. Probably has some great things lined up for his life. And when he leaves the sewer and is immediately accosted by the creepy homeless guy living under the bridge, played by Blake Fowler, the guy says that he, Bridge Guy, is Michael Meyers, and he intends to kill Corey. Which, of course, results in that thing where, Corey kills a guy, but it was in self-defense and accidental, so it's not really his fault. Which is usually what we do for someone who's meant to be seen by others as evil, but really isn't. But that's not really what they're going for here, so, I don't know. Point is, things aren't going well for anybody. Corey pushes his way past his mother so he can clean up all the blood. And oh, would you look at that? Allison wasn't given that promotion she's been working towards. Seems the doctor gave it to Nurse Deb over here, played by Michelle Dawson. Because while Allison was a very good employee, putting in all the hours and working extra hard, Deb puts out. And even Laurie, who was previously all optimism and, Michael Meyers is a thing of the past, suddenly finds herself gripped in terror as she sees Corey doing the Meyers thing out by the bushes. And of course, when she goes down there to confront him, he disappears.
Oh! Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I'm just waiting for Allison.
Oh man, he's already got the slasher killer teleportation powers! Laurie senses something is off, but doesn't mention it so as to not interrupt Corey heading off to some mysterious location with Allison out of the blue. But hey, their relationship should be fine as long as he doesn't mention that...
I killed someone.
Okay, that came out wrong. Let me try that again. I did my part to end homelessness. Nah, he's not even talking about the guy he just offed. Look, he's actually telling her about the opening of the movie where whoops-a-daisy seems a door to the face and just a little gravity is all it takes to snap a child like a twig. Which is something that Allison already knew about, so she's not shocked, just says his child-killing mishaps are just another reason to love him. While this is going on though, Laurie took the opportunity to stop by Corey's place and meet his mother, who is none too pleased to hear that her son is dating the granddaughter of the evil enabler Laurie Strode. Because of her, Haddonfield refused to forgive the minor mistake of splattering Jeremy all over the hardwood floor.
They would have felt for him. They would have helped him heal. But because your boogeyman disappeared, they needed a new one.
Yeah, Laurie, how dare you be attacked by a psycho killer and then have the audacity to exist while said killer escapes? Didn't we spend the entire last movie establishing that Laurie's actually not all that important anyway? And even if she was, how is any of that her fault? So Haddonfield hates the Strode family, because that's the thing that fuels the plot this time around. Corey asks Allison why not just, leave Haddonfield. But she's like, nah, it's way too important to the franchise. But what's this? It seems Allison neglected to tell her boyfriend, Officer Melanie, that he's in fact an ex-boyfriend at this time. And as Corey's reputation precedes him, this confrontation looks to be coming to a head. Later.
Just burn it all to the ground.
I like the match.
The two of them simply mutually agree that this whole Haddonfield thing is kind of a wash, so it's on to the slaughter. Unless we're supposed to believe that Allison is purely innocent underneath these arsonistic desires. Now that the night is winding down, Corey takes Allison home. But unbeknownst to him, but beknownst to us, Officer Melanie has tailed him and follows him that night. But wait, it turns out Corey did know that Allison's ex-boyfriend would follow him and leads him to the underpass with the sewer entrance to Michael Meyers' lair. Whacking the cop before fleeing into the pipes, it's not too hard for him to lure the man into the dungeon of the boogeyman. Hey, maybe like and subscribe before someone jumps up and kills you. And finally, we get our second appearance of Michael Meyers, 55 minutes into the movie. But if his first appearance is anything to go by, and he senses evil means he lets you go, Melanie should be fine. Therefore, Corey swoops in to assist. Important, as while Michael has been very, very old all trilogy, Yeah, this time he's feeling kind of weak and incapable of administering the Haddonfield hack and slash on his own. But as he stabs into his victim, his strength slowly returns. But what about Corey?
Oh my god, are you okay?
I don't know what's happening to me.
He easily escapes that during a handy-dandy scene transition. It's true, there really is nothing you can't do while off screen. And there's nothing that gets a gal more interested than mysterious cuts and bruises that you refuse to explain. And Laurie witnesses the two of them heading upstairs to converse. And Michael comes out for a jog as well and must be feeling a lot better. But he's not going to attack the Strode house just yet. We're only an hour into the movie. We've got to pad this a little more. And we've got more important things to spend screen time on, like Allison's job. It still sucks, and her boss still promoted the squeaky toy instead of her. Oh, and back at the bar, Laurie runs into none other than Mr. Allen. Seems he and the missus separated some time ago. She was adamant that Corey was evil personified, but Mr. Allen believed him to be just the victim of a tragic accident. That is, until very recently, where he saw Corey walking down the road in a scene we didn't cover, wanting to say his piece. He pulled up alongside the boy.
And it's not him. At least not in the eyes.
So for those of you following at home, the rules go like this. Perfectly innocent. The devil's eyes. Cute little babysitter. The terror of Haddonfield. But that night, we watch as Dr. Mathis, played by Michael O'Leary, brings the hot, young, new promoted Nurse Deb home with him. It's a dark night, and they're just chatting it up, prepping for a wonderful evening where everything will go perfectly. But y'all know the horror movie rules. If we're spending a strangely long period of time watching people doing things that mean absolutely nothing to the plot moving forward, that means someone is about to die. At the hands of the boogeyman himself, Corey. Geez, that name sounds like a boy band member who was the unpopular one, so he turned into being a slasher killer. At least Mike Meyers is scary no matter the context. See? Corey, you can just close the door and there's nothing he can do about it. But Michael Meyers can just walk in from off screen and take Nurse Deb out in classic Halloween fashion, stabbing her through and pinning her to the wall. And they always turn out a little crooked. Oh well. Now that that's over with, it's time for the happy night ride with Allison. Just usual, not telling her anything about all those deaths and heading to the rooftop of the radio station to talk about how they really don't like Haddonfield and should leave sooner rather than later. But when Corey heads down, he is accosted by the DJ, Willie the Kid, played by Karan Harris, taunting him as a child killer before Allison approaches him and gets his attention instead.
Y'all know the Laurie Strode story? She teased the man with brain damage and then he snapped.
And we're just going to ignore the fact that he killed his sister way back when? Or that he didn't even know Laurie before attacking her? At least according to this timeline. But this is all the confirmation that Allison needed to decide. That's it. I'm leaving Haddonfield. Gonna run away with my schnookums, Corey. Later, first Corey has to be kicked out of his house so he can go camp out at that old Allen place and wake up to the sounds of Laurie Strode.
You know there are two kinds of evil. There's the evil that exists as an external force that threatens the well-being of the tribe.
And then there's the studio execs that insist on churning out sequel after sequel and remake after remake and reboot after reboot just to squeeze that little bit of more money out of a once-beloved franchise. Oh, she says that the other kind is the internal conflict stuff, whatever. She's like, Corey, you're trouble, and you gotta stay away from Allison. And he's like, dude, you were written as the grandma pushing your granddaughter into unwanted relationships, and now you think that maybe the psycho kid killer from Haddonfield was possibly not the best choice? Character consistency, try it sometime. So, too bad, Allison's mine now, and you're just a broken husk of whatever Michael Meyers left behind. As such, Laurie teleports out of there, and the movie continues.
What's wrong?
We need to leave.
I can't right now, I'm working.
And no, she never seems to notice that her boss, or the girl at work that she hated, just disappeared. I guess they were right to snub her for that promotion. Corey tells her that Laurie wants him dead. He's not wrong, but does leave out some important details. They can meet at the diner later. For now, Corey has to head back to Michael's lair, beating the crap out of the sheep and stealing his visage. Yeah, it turns out all this time, Michael Meyers, kind of a pushover. I mean, come on, in the first movie he was defeated by a babysitter with a knitting needle. You little... Give me a second. Back ain't what it used to be. While Michael lags behind, our attention is shifted to evil Ludwig and friends. Seems someone vandalized their car. Someone by the name of Corey. So the chase is on, which sounds exciting, so we instead switch over to Laurie and Allison. Laurie does her best to explain that, hey, your boyfriend is evil. He's got the devil's eyes, all that jazz. Trust me, I've been through this a few times.
You have to believe me.
Believe you? You want me to believe you?
I mean, you didn't believe her in Halloween 2018, and it turned out she was right. And you didn't believe her in Halloween Kills, and it turned out, well, she was wrong about Michael caring about her, but the killing still happened, so it doesn't make a lick of sense for you to not believe her now.
Because of the hysteria that you caused when I trusted you, my friends are dead. My parents are dead.
Which ones? Because the opening of this movie made it seem like a lot of randos killed each other in Haddonfield out of fear, but all of your friends were established to have been killed by Michael Meyers, who is also the person who's responsible for the hysteria. So Allison doesn't listen, and we get back to that chase. Right when it's over, of course. Seems that evil Ludwig has tracked Corey all the way back to the junkyard, but alas, seems to have lost track of the guy. No problem. They take his bike and can chain it up to drag it until it is no more. That is, if the driver would actually hit the gas.
Billy, what are you trying to do, man? Suck your own... Oh my God!
But while out of frame, Corey jammed a rod through his face. Very gently, no sound, no screaming, just a little... But they definitely notice where he is now, chasing them down in a tow truck. Though they aren't that smart when it comes to trying to avoid getting run over by said tow truck, resulting in one of them being run over by a tow truck, pinned down under a chain link fence. And hey, the bullies are nice enough to actually stick around and try to help each other in such dire circumstances. But mostly just to make it easier for Corey to take him out one by one without having to break into a jog. The slow walk takes practice. Evil Ludwig, though, alerts the junkyard boss, who arms him, and they head forth to find out who this psychopath is whom is killing the teenagers. No surprise, it's Corey! So Evil Ludwig goes to shoot him! No! And at least he got the teleportation powers down pat. Come on, there wasn't even a cut there. How else was he supposed to get out of that? And the bullies are nothing if not incredibly stupid, as instead of running for his life or looking for the killer, they just, kneel down by the pinned friend again, allowing Corey to sneak up on them again, using a torch to burn Evil Ludwig to death before giving the bait the old stomparoonie. Then it's back home to check on Mom.
That was good. A little ice cream? A little cookie?
The hotline is open and we are taking requests.
They cut away. I mean, there's a 50-50 chance that later in the movie, it's either going to be Corey under the mask or they're going to take it off and it's going to be his mom right there. But while he's on his little rampage, taking out everyone who's even slightly wronged him, it's time for Corey to go to the radio station. Hey kids, look, it's Diana Prince. Darcy the mail girl. Yeah, Corey kills her too because she was in the way of getting to Willie the Kid, who he smashes into his turntable until he is dead. Oh, but in all the chaos, the carnage, and the body count rising, Corey forgot to meet Allison at that restaurant. Should have tied some sinew around his finger. So he never comes, but hey, it's not like Allison is having the worst night here. Having gone through how many movies and being constantly told you're crazy by your own family really wears on a person. So Laurie calls the police to report the end of her own life, grabs a gun, and...
Did you really think I'd kill myself?
Whoa, calm down there, Laurie. Dial it back a bit. Shoot the guy all you want, but be careful what you say. I don't want to get another email from YouTube telling me how concerned they are over certain things I've been saying in my recent videos. Blasting the boy through the railing, we see, yep, that's Corey. And the big epic final confrontation between Laurie Strode and Corey. Well, she could just shoot him, so instead she fires off her remaining rounds and beckons him to come at me, bro. But oh, would you look at that? He stabs himself instead, right before Allison comes home and finds her grandma with the bloody knife.
What did you do? What did you do to him?
It's not what it looks like. I mean, yes, I was trying to kill him, but I just shot him a few times. I never stabbed the guy. Of course, there's no explaining this because Laurie is suddenly an emotional wreck, and Allison doesn't seem to notice a Michael Myers mask sitting right there next to corpsey Corey. Ah, well, she can leave and someone else can show up. Hey, it's Michael Myers! That's right, you are in this movie, aren't you? Proving himself to be the hero of the tale once again, Mike gets things moving first and foremost by finishing off Corey, who is in fact still alive, but only just long enough for Michael Myers to kill him. Then it's time for the final epic confrontation where Halloween ends, and Laurie Strode does battle with Michael Myers. For a couple of minutes. It's not a bad back and forth, but after waiting through 90 minutes of Halloween Ends to get here, it could have been bigger. Maybe get Laurie into a battle mech or something, I don't know. Point is, using various kitchen appliances, she manages to pin Michael Myers to the counter, then giving a little speech about how he ain't no boogeyman, no. He's just an old decrepit nuisance. She bleeds him to death. Shortly before the police arrive, along with Allison, like, hey, got that call earlier? Doing okay? Wow, where'd that corpse of Michael Myers come from?
Michael.
He's dead. Not dead enough.
Well, it's good to know you're back on Team Laurie, and all it took was for her to be attacked by Michael Myers and be vindicated for everything she's told you. For the third time. But yeah, they know how these movies work. As soon as Myers slips out of frame, his body's gonna disappear, and then we're gonna have to deal with another sequel, and no one wants that. Fortunately, we did just so happen to establish that junkyard earlier in the movie, which just so happens to have a grinder in it. How convenient! So Laurie tosses Michael's body inside, and they crush Michael Myers into tiny meaty chunks. Good luck coming back from that. Therefore, happy ending! Michael Myers is dead. Corey showed us all that evil doesn't have to be Michael Myers to continue, but he's dead too, so it doesn't matter. Allison still hasn't acknowledged her boss or ex have died, but who cares? She's finally leaving Haddonfield, and Laurie begins a new chapter in her own life, together with Frank. Which we do not need to see in detail, this movie has had enough scares. But anyway, that was Halloween Ends. And it looks to me like Halloween ended a long time ago. Honestly, all the Halloween movies since 2018 have been so different from one another, I assumed this was yet another case of a trilogy being planned, but a movie studio shuffling around writers and directors between projects, resulting in 3 distinct movies that are hardly related to each other at all. But upon digging deeper, I found that Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends share like 80% of the same writing staff and the same director. Despite this, we somehow ended up with 3 distinct movies that are hardly related to each other at all. That's quite a feat. The opportunity to make a well-crafted Halloween trilogy was right there, and it was deliberately avoided to instead give us 3 tales with characters whose motivations and personalities shift drastically between entries, performing the tasks required of the current plot without being too concerned about what that means for the other movies. This means that, like Halloween 3, Halloween Ends is best judged on its own merits, but honestly, that is something I'm having a very difficult time with. Halloween Ends, unlike Halloween 3, still has Michael Myers and Haddonfield and Laurie Strode and lots of connections to the previous movies. The fact that these things are there and it still goes off and does its own thing that is hardly related, that's one of the big things I find so frustrating about it. So anyway, what is the meat of Halloween Ends? A story of evil changing shape with Corey. And he's, like a lot of this movie, inconsistent. Not just that his personality changes as he embraces evil, but his incredibly oppressive home life, that still effectively lets him go off on his own anyway, his fear of the dark side, which he embraces because he embraces the dark side and that's just how he is, and his undying love for Allison, which is off and on as a minor unrelated inconvenience is enough to have him leave her for good for 20 minutes, and she doesn't influence his path to or away from evil even in the slightest. Beyond Corey, we've got Allison, who again feels like a weirdly minor character kept close to the events merely due to the relationship she has with Laurie, and whose most important contributions to the tale are who she happens to have a relationship with at the time. After 3 movies, it's very disappointing to see that plot point reiterated every single entry, and not much else brought to the table. Then, of course, we've got Laurie Strode, gone from a prepper who everyone thought was crazy but was actually right, to a crazy lady everyone thought was crazy and was actually crazy, to just a friendly grandma who seemingly has completely forgotten the fact that she's Laurie Strode until she remembers, but then everyone thinks she's crazy because that's what they do in these movies. It's really, really hard for me to just take the movie as it is when it's so clear that it could have been so much more. Everything was being put together in a way where it's perfectly within the realm of possibility. We could have had a big, awesome Halloween trilogy, but that's just not what happened. At the end of the day, Halloween Ends does that horror movie thing. You get your setups, your suspense, and a handful of kills of adequate creativity. The characters do what they need to, and we dance around exploring the concept of evil and spreading fear without ever diving deep enough to leave anyone confused, which also means it's not deep enough to really leave much of an impact either. Coming in at 2 coverall bedecked psychopaths out of 5. And yeah, there's recent statements that this might not be the last Halloween movie. There could be more on the horizon, eventually. Which is not news. If the Hellraiser franchise can survive getting dragged into the ground as far as that did, Halloween is going to be fine for at least another 40 years. Thank you all for watching. I've been Dr. Shado. And remember, if a psycho killer terrorizes your town, but one babysitter somehow manages to survive, the event was not the babysitter's fault.
Why can't the bicycle stand on its own?
No, it can't. It's got a kickstand.
Because it was too tired.
Thanks again for watching. If you would like another opinion on Halloween Ends, may I suggest the 2022 Cinemassacre Monster Madness review from James Rolfe right there? Or possibly the algorithmically selected recommended video. Or hey, how about the Summer of Halloween? I did that, remember? Lots of choices, lots to do. It's like trick or treat.